what is going on with these blood sugar diseases, with pain in the body, with gaining weight, is there's no absence to make the heart grow fonder. You know, if I constantly have my sugar elevated, that's going to send a signal to my pancreas to release this insulin. Okay, I gotta put this this sugar away. Okay, insulin brings sugar into the cell, so I'm constantly pumping this insulin. And then one day the pancreas is like, bro, I'm sick of this. I can't keep doing this. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted, and there's nowhere to put this sugar. I've maxed out my fat stores. There's nowhere for it in the cell. And one day the pancreas gives out, and then we look at that's the result of diabetes. Diabetes type 2. They have also, they have diabetes type 1, so a lot of people transition. Type 1 is considered an autoimmune condition. It used to be considered a childhood diabetes. What do they call it? Like adolescent diabetes, where it's more autoimmune related rather than lifestyle related. But a lot of the times they have this new invention they call LATO, which is like a transitioning diabetes, right? And then we have diabetes of the brain, which is diabetes type 3. Now they're also calling endometriosis and PCOS diabetes of the uterus. So we have to look and say, how is this excess sugar complicating my relationship with myself? So that's why I said the sugar's always there. It's always available. There's no absence to make the heart grow fonder. And then, it's like food is really like a gift. It's so available to us. And that's what, even in our personal relationships, and that's why I say that absence makes the heart grow fonder. Like, I'm a twin. I've been a twin for 29 years. I'm going to tell you this story, okay? Me and my sister, we went to the gym the other day. And we never go to the gym together, but we went to the gym the other day. We happened to go into the sauna afterwards. And I knew this was going to happen because it always happens when we're together. As soon as we walk in the sauna, oh my God, are y'all twins? There was 3 other people in the sauna. And so we just had this long conversation. Well, first of all, when people ask if we're twins, I always say no, because Robin always says yes. My sister always says yes. And I love the deer in the headlights look, because if I'm answering the question straight out yes, you already know the answer. The fact that you're asking the question is we definitely look too alike to not be twins, So I'm gonna say no, just because it's fun. And people they look like it's like deer in the headlights. They're like, oh my God, I just heard 2 answers. One said yes, one said no. And that is so funny to me. I live for that moment. And anyway, so we were talking about, they were asking us oh, y'all are so close. And they were like, I can't remember how we got to talk about it. I think one lady had twin niece and nephew. And then they were just asking us if we do everything together and stuff like that, because people, the twin questions. And so we were like, well, we had most of the same friends throughout growing up. We had the same jobs, went to the same school, had the same classes, played the same sports. And then the first time that we were separated was when we went to college, and we were at LSU, and I was in a degree program that was 4 years, and Robin was in one that was 2 years, 2 years at school, and then she had to move to go finish our other 2 years. So that was the first time in life that we separated for a long period of time. And it was the weirdest thing because before then, it was and I constantly talk about wearing the mask on here. This is what I'm talking about, is being a twin was for me, it was having a mask on for the first 20 something years of my life. I knew people didn't know exactly who I was. And even still now, and a lot of identical twins can probably tell you this. We're actually fraternal. We just look a lot alike. But you can tell when people they don't know exactly who they're talking to. And there's a distance that is held in between you, a very much an uncertainty. And it's like wearing a mask, because really essentially I could be Robin, I could be myself, but like essentially you don't know who I am at all. And so like the first time we split, it was like people on campus and people I was meeting, I was like, oh my God, they don't know that I'm a twin. I actually am an individual. Like people, like when people I was meeting and they didn't know that I was a twin, they were actually calling me by my name, Rachel. And whereas in high school, a lot of times people were just calling us twin, and that wasn't very, it's not very personal. Does that make sense? And then so it was really weird to like finally have an identity, so late in life too, to finally like be called by name and for people to like really, know who I was. But, and then again too, like there's that whole dimension of like, people don't really know who you are unless you fully express yourself. So that's been the journey that I've been going through. And that's why I've created this YouTube channel even here, because I'm going through this journey of learning to express who I am. Like there's oceans inside of everyone. There's mansions inside of everyone. And, unless you decide that you're going to be open, people will never ever truly see who you are, and you will always feel like you are wearing a mask and that you're not yourself. But anyway, kind of got a little sidetracked from that story. We were talking about how absence makes the heart grow fonder when Robin moved home and I was still at LSU, and we really started to miss each other and like value the moments that we come together. And especially now, so that we don't see each other as much, it's like there's a preciousness that's always there. And when something is always there, like when we get in the same habits and the same routine, we see the same people, like our relationships with everything, they become stale. They lose this novelty, they lose excitement, and that is so dangerous. It's so dangerous because we start to take things for granted, like they'll always be there, and it's not true. We could, anything could happen, and then we forget what our bodies are made of, and these cells, like they're constantly doing work. Like there's death and renewal at the cellular level all the time, and we forget that. So that's why I like, I really have a lot of theories about the carnivore and the ketogenic diet, but one of the biggest ones is that I really do think it helps to sensitize us to all the relationships that we have and we hold around us. And that being is like, because food is medicine. It's either medicine or it's poison. And something that's really interesting, so I wish that I would have started this from the beginning. I wish that I would have started going to the gym every single day. So by month 2, I had decided that I was going to get into the gym and strength train every single morning, fasted. Really, I wish I would have done that by day 1. I would have done that by day 1. I don't think, like, again, with relationships, like, no matter what diet or food you're participating with, strength training, resistance training, gravity training is so important to every single individual on this planet, especially as you get older, especially if you're a woman. We are more susceptible to autoimmune diseases. It keeps our hormones stable, keeps our inner light stable. And I wish that I would have done that. I think my journey would have been a lot better with doing that. But the thing is, in this month too, I have been resistance training every single morning. Every single morning, I do not take a break. And I am never sore. There may be moments like after the gym where I feel like a little bit weak until I replenish and refeed. And what I've been doing is I have been definitely focusing more on just red meat. Like I was eating a lot more eggs in the beginning, not as satiating personally. Red meat is so dense. It is so dense. And when we look at our bodies, like, that's why I changed my, something just fell. That's why I changed my name on here to Red Meat Rach. But what I was saying is like every single cell is always dying below the surface, always rebuilding. Like there's so much that we don't see. But like, look at how beautiful our bodies are, and we're made of red meat. You peel anybody's skin back, no matter what skin tone you are, no matter how much melanin you have in your body, how old you are, how young you are, we are made of red meat. Look at how beautiful that is. And like, there's so many, like, even if you just, this is the structure of the muscle, like, it continues to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you're looking at these tiny, tiny little cells. And when you start to think about all this and the biology and the physiology and the biochemistry, you're like, oh my gosh, my body has dense nutrient requirements. And a lot of us, we just are in this phase where, again, we don't appreciate what we have until it's gone. A lot of us, we walk around and we're like nutrient deficient a majority of the time. And what that is like dehydrated, you know? And so, you know, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I love the carnivore and ketogenic diet because, you really get a sense, you really become like very sensitive to your environment, to food, and to the preciousness of all that. And so now, like, if I'm not hungry to eat what my diet is that I'm eating, the meat or the eggs, sometimes I'll have some Greek yogurt too. And I'm not super strict. Like I said, if I were to break out in hives after I would eat something off, like some tacos or something, I wouldn't be eating that. But I have a little bit of flexibility, so sometimes like I enjoy myself, and you can enjoy yourself. That's what they say. Don't trade the good for the perfect, But in the beginning, I really do recommend trying to be a little bit determined and disciplined with how you're doing things. But mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, they don't like all this sugar, all this carbohydrates. It shuts down function of the mitochondria. And the same thing, they need B vitamins. The same thing, they need magnesium. They need all these little elements, carnitine, taurine, zinc, selenium. They are the ones who have the dense nutrient requirements. And when you give them what they need, oh my gosh, they turn energy on. And that's what I love about strength training is like lactic acid, like building up. You're turning on this recycling process. The body has beautiful ways to recycle and make things so efficient. That's what a carnivore ketogenic diet is. It's efficiency. It's an efficiency diet. When you can use more of your own resources instead of relying outside on so much external metabolism, because we have central metabolism. We have central metabolism, which means that we can, as long as we're getting the full profile of the amino acids, if we get these 9 essential, we can make non-essential and conditional. How does this even happen? Our bodies are so intelligent. This is the fasted process. So the carnivore and ketogenic diet is a fasted state diet without nutritional deprivation. It's so beautiful. That's why they discovered it to treat epileptic seizures. People who could not be medicated, who were having seizures all day long, they said, oh my God, we need, if we take out the carbohydrates, we only give them protein and fat, it reduces their seizures. Why is this so helpful for the brain? And then why is it so helpful for our memory that we become sensitized to our environment? We remember how precious our relationships are, especially with ourselves. That's my thing, is the biggest thing is memory. And I had that sentence in my head a little while ago. You'll remember the moment you stop wanting to forget. This diet swing right here, like I've said to so many people, and people are like, I just love food. Everybody loves food, but when you have had enough pain, when you have gotten fed up with yourself, with the way that you're showing up in the world, with the way that things are going, that's when we change. We don't change a moment before, and I've made this video before too. Don't try to change anyone. If you're trying to change someone, don't. Because if you're trying to change someone externally, you're only trying to change yourself, and you can't change anyone. We only change and make big changes when we are so fed up and when we're tired of the same things happening in our life. And I think that is sad, but it's also beautiful, that we have to get like burnt. It makes me think of like a little kid doesn't know how hot the stove is, and like it feels kind of hot, but like I'm still gonna touch it, because curiosity. I still gotta touch that stove and like blister myself, and then we forget how hot it is, so I'm gonna touch it again, I'm like, do I keep showing up in this way? Is this really who I am? Is this really who I want to be? Or do I want something to change? And it's like this journey with the carnivore ketogenic diet, and everybody who does this diet will say the same thing. It is like more psychological than it is physical. Like to go through a fast is more psychological than it is physical. It's about believing in yourself and knowing that the food is medicine. Someone reached out to me the other day and they're kind of struggling with the diet, and like a lot of it was, I can't help anybody. I just teach biology, I teach what I've learned in school, and I give resources out, but I can't give recommendations whatsoever. But like your mindset is the most important aspect. Like the most important study we've ever did was the placebo, the effectiveness of the placebo diet, of the placebo like pill, which is like 80% or something like that. That's incredible. That means that your belief is your blood sugar, your belief is your biochemistry. Our thoughts control our hormones and everything. If I have thoughts that the world is a terrible place and I'm always going to meet terrible people who want to take advantage of me, that's my reflection of it inside. But if the world is a beautiful place, if I'm strong, secure in who I am, then I'm going to also meet that on the outside. And I think a lot of that comes down to whether we feel like our body, whether our individual cells feel like they have enough basic essential nutrients to just run the basal metabolic rate, these basic processes. Like there's so much that's happening, the body can't get out of this fight or flight unless it has just the basics of what it needs. And we greatly underestimate that, just like we greatly underestimate the preciousness of all the relationships that we have around us. I just love the biochemistry because it is the story of the relationships that we hold. That's how I see it, and I think it's the number one way to like love yourself is to give yourself this nurturing, the nourishment from the nutrients, and to that would be like the feminine side of us, which comes out in all the hormones. We each have this masculine feminine balance. Do I nurture myself with nutrients? Do I give myself what I need? Do I allow myself to receive that, to receive the sunlight, receive the amino and fatty acids? And in my masculine, do I go to work out? Do I go and move? Do I go and exercise and play and strengthen my body? It's a balance of both, and it's so beautiful. That's how I really do feel. But anyway, I'm gonna leave this here. I hope this video is helpful for you in some way. I hope you remember who you are when you look in the mirror. We're not just a body. We are so much more than that. We are trillions and trillions of tiny little cells, tiny little cells. And then how many more mitochondria? There's 3 mitochondria just in this cell, but there's like you go to the brain, the heart, the kidneys, the liver, these major organ centers, so much energy. Like, I just invite you to nurture yourself, to ask your body, like, what do I need? And then to have faith in yourself, like to have faith in your cells, because they are running the show and taking care of you all the time. They don't have, that's what I love about the body, and this is the last thing I'll say, is they say, like, I met this dog trainer a while ago, and he said the reason why he loves working with dogs is because he said, when you go home, he said, put your dog into the trunk. Put it in the trunk and drive it around for 10 minutes. And then open the trunk, and the dog is going to be so happy to see you, unconditional love. And he said, okay, well, go put your spouse in the trunk, drive around for 10 or 15 minutes and open the trunk. They're going to be so pissed and angry with you. And he said, a dog's love is unconditional. It doesn't hold anything against you. It is so happy that you have returned. And that's just how when he told me that story, I was like, the body is the same way. The immune system is the same way. There's unconditional love that our bodies have, and they just wait for us to return home. There's no resentment the body holds. Like, you may have feelings and feel some type of way about your body, but the body, it doesn't hold any negative, nothing against you. All the times that we put ourselves through the chemicals and the processed foods, and we do things that we know are not for the best of us, the body doesn't hold anything against us. It's unconditional love. At any moment in time, you can decide, I am this version of myself. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to have a dense, nutrient-dense meal. And like the body is there. It's waiting for you to just acknowledge it and take care of it. And remember who we are, It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Anyway, I'm going to go. But I do love you so much. And I hope this is valuable to you. You can like, share, and subscribe. But I will catch you later.